hear the car just like this, and then Elba comes running in, and she's just hyperventilating, just going crazy. And she's pregnant now. She's 8 months pregnant, and she's just freaking out. And I could not understand anything that's going on. The neighborhood people are they're gathered around the house, and I'm just like, what is going on here? So I grabbed a paper bag. And I'm like, here, blow into this thing. So because literally I kept asking her, what's going on? She just she could not let me know what was happening. So I'm thinking, we need to get to the hospital. What's going on here?
I'm about 8 months pregnant with Lisa. The mission needed some money, so they heard I was going to the bank, so they write a check so I could get money. So I'm driving home, and not knowing I was being followed by these two guys on a motorbike. When I stopped, they stopped with me. One of them had the gun pointed to my head and to my belly, asking for the money. I thought about taking off, just taking off. And in that moment, I felt like the Lord said, don't do that, he's gonna shoot you. So I got the purse with the money for him. And so he grabbed it and he took off.
So I calmed her down, and everything seemed to be going well. Throughout the day, though, you could tell that her anxiety levels were just going high and low, high and low. So we were able to get down, go to the doctor, our doctor down there, and they said, yeah, this baby needs to come out now. It's very distressed.
I was born in the jungle of the Amazon forest. My mother had 6 kids and adopted 2 more. And I'm a twin. We lived very far away from people, no running water or electricity. We had to go to the creek or to the river to get water to bathe, and carry water on our heads to drink and to cook. So we would go put all of our dirty dishes in a what do you call, basin or tub, and just put on our heads, carry down to the river, to the creek, wash them all. And of course, as a young girl, this is all fun. And then once you're done, you come home. You're up when the sun is up, and you're sleeping when the sun is out. Just very, very, very simple life. My parents never got to go to school. So when we were about 8 or 9, my mother moved into the city, a smaller town, so we could go to school. So at the age of 11, I started working as a maid to help support my family and also to help me get to school. Girls in my family always got, married or just lived together by the age of 14. And I always had the dream, I always wanted something better for my life. I was watching all that, watching them my cousins having babies with different men, and their life was just miserable. And I've always wondered if on the other side of the river, somewhere else would be something better, like girls could have a different life. I actually tried running away a couple of times from home, but my mom always caught me, so it never happened. Eventually, by the age of 15, I convinced her to let me move to this other town called Santarém. It's about 6 hours by boat from where we lived. And I went to live with my aunt, and I needed to get a job again so I could support myself, because my parents were not going to be able to help me there. So one day my aunt came home. She said, listen, there's a gringo family over there. Go ask them for a job.
This neighbor girl came by, and we just really needed help. Especially Dee we needed help with the 2 babies. We didn't have a car. We were walking to get groceries.
Her house was full of people. Her parents were visiting from Canada. Her brother-in-law They all had little babies.
And that started their relationship of her coming there every day and, cleaning and cooking and helping take care of the kids.
Later, I moved in to live with them so they could learn more Portuguese and I could learn some English.
We were pretty poor back then. We just had some bricks and boards. That's how we did our kitchen shelves and stuff like that. We did that for about 7 years. Elba was there. She would poke a broom through the bricks and chase the mice out the other side and then kill them. She had no problem with mice or rats. She lived in our living room. We just put some curtains across one corner and put a mattress on the floor, and she had 2 boxes, cardboard boxes of stuff, 1 or 2.
And I would work all day and go to school in the evening. These people were very, very kind to me. They were just the way they treated people and the way they loved Jesus and the way they did life, that it was just so different. And it really got my heart.
We said, well, we go to church on Sunday. You don't need to come to church if you don't want to. She goes, no, I'll come with you, see what it's about. So she came with us. The 3rd Sunday, he gave an altar call. She grabbed Dee's hand. She took Dee to the front and she gave her heart to the Lord. Within about 6 months, she was being the youth pastor in that little church.
At the end of that year, Rick and Deanna were talking about moving to the Xingu to start planting churches.
So Elba asked us, could I move with you? I'll go through grade 12 in Altamira, and I'll just move with you. I'll keep working with you and keep living with you. Would that be okay? We were going to all move together here, but then my dad got cancer. So we did a quick furlough, unexpected, unplanned. After 2 years, we went home for 2 months.
They said, listen, Elba, can you just get all of our stuff together? You and Milton and Clenildo, and take it to Altamira.
She rented our house for us at about 17 years old, going into grade 12, between grade 11 and grade 12. She rented our house for us. She moved in with us to our new house here and lived with us for the 2nd year and went through grade 12 living with us. And in the meantime, she also helped to plant the church. She'd been a Christian now for about 9 months or a year.
Quando eu conheci a Elba, ela era uma menina que veio.
When I first met Elba, she was just a young girl, helping the Bergen family with caring for their children. And at first, she seemed just like someone that helps families and cleans their homes. She was nothing like what we see today.
Socorro com a família.
But we came to see that she had a very charismatic personality. We were surprised to find that she had a real gift for gathering people.
Em se envolver com as pessoas, mesmo que
I was helping them. I was just doing whatever to make friends, gather people, help at the small group.
Just an amazing girl, really a courageous young girl when I think of it and when I think of our daughters and the things that she did.
Newton was a practicing dentist. So we would go, we had the boat with the chair and everything, and we would travel along the rivers. I was helping Newton to pull people's teeth and make them dentures. And then we would have a church service in the evening. As a 16-year-old, I just loved that. I just loved the adventure. I just loved to see the smile on people's face. I just loved to see them falling in love with Jesus. So I wanted to go become a real dentist and go back to the river and just do that. That was my dream. So at the end of that first year in Altamira, that was my last year of high school. I was ready to go to college, and one day Rick sat with me and he said, I see a real calling of God in your life.
We said, well, dentist probably be good, but would you like to go to Bible school for a year first?
And I said, yes. It was just mind-blowing because here I come from the jungle to a small city. Now I am in the 3rd largest city of Brazil. Just having to adjust to life there and make new friends and everything. But the way I see my life is God always gave me mothers wherever I went. So when I moved to Santarém, he gave me Rick and Deanna. When I moved to the big city, he gave me other women who just adopted me. I lived very far away from the Bible school, so I had to be like on a bus, like an hour every single day. Some days I would go to Bible school and I had no money to go back. And this lady would come to me and say, here, the Lord asked me to give you this. So he was always there, always providing. I remember, I think I was turning 18 or 19, and it was my birthday. I was all by myself. Never had the birthday far away from home and from everybody I knew. So again, this lady comes to my house and she said, I made a cake for you. She came with some friends and I had this amazing party. Things like that happen over and over again. Just small things that the Lord was meeting me whenever I needed. He was always there.
So we started supporting her. Within 3 months, she called us back and she said, I don't need support anymore because I'm an English school teacher. I didn't even know she could speak English. All she ever spoke was Portuguese. But we had these little girls. By that time, we had 3. She would just kind of do stuff with them when I wasn't around and Dee wasn't around, to the point where when she went to Bible school, she could actually teach English.
I had to teach myself before I went into the class and taught the students.
She was 2 pages ahead of her students.
They didn't know that, but that's what I did.
Within about a year, she called us up, and now she's the teacher of foreign languages at the school. She's the director of Spanish and English and the teachers.
I also was a part of a church plant there and translating for different people who came to Brazil to, conferences and things like that.
Well, she's a rising leader there, so she is pretty attractive. She's also beautiful, and so different people wanted to court her, different guys. And one of the sons of a big pastor of a big church, this fellow wanted to be a missionary in Uruguay, sent out from their church, from this big, prosperous Brazilian church. They went on some mission trips, and he wanted to marry her.
So I had the dream one day that I had a box that I brought with my books. There was a baby in there, and that babe needed to be fed. And I just heard that voice that told me, feed the baby, he's still alive. So I talked to a friend of mine who was a prayer partner, and she said, it seems like this baby is a dream that you brought with you. And it seems like it's time to feed that dream again. So then I remember it was my dream to go back to the Xingu and to serve the people. I went to this prayer meeting, and at the end, we're almost walking out already, and this guy came after us and he said, when I was praying, I had the vision with you. And he said, I saw you in a place in my vision, just very green, lots of water. It looked like the Amazon. And I feel like the Lord was telling you, pack your bags, it's time to go. So that was it. That was what I was looking for. Made a decision to break up the relationship because I have this calling and it doesn't fit with his calling. So then it's over.
One of the things that she's really passionate about is educating people, training them, and helping them to become leaders.
Well, so I moved to Altamira and we started ITA, which was our theological institute.
Her coming in here, working in a sense, a man's culture and training men was complicated at times, and she received lots of resistance.
Being a woman and being a very male-dominant community and society is not an easy thing. You see people nudging their heads and kind of going, yeah, but who are you? You're just a girl.
But as time has moved on, I think that they can see that the authority of God in her life has made a major impact, and it's really changed the way that I think that most men look at her and other women in ministry now, especially in leadership.
I was just here to serve no matter, however it was the best. So that's what I did in the beginning.
Elba corajosa.
Elba was a woman that wanted to serve no matter the circumstance.
Tá pronta para servir, não importa qual situação.
We saw this in how she lived every day.
A história no dia a dia foi se mostrando.
Steve comes from a family of 6 kids. Nobody really goes to church or do anything. He was crazy growing up. Just involved with everything, drinking, smoking, women.
My biggest dream was to own my own business and become a millionaire. That's what I wanted to do in life. I started working at this insurance company, and they had a Bible study. It just happened that a large sum of money came in, and it was exactly the amount that you needed to go on this short-term mission team.
Coming to Brazil was like he always felt like he was paying for his sins. That's kind of how he thought about it.
In preparation to the trip, I thought, now God's really wanting me to pay back. this is the time that he's going to call me and make me do something for all of my past sins, and it's going to be in long-term missions. In 2001, we came here to build a church here in Belamanchi, and this place has changed due to a hydroelectric dam that is being built right now. And so we went across the river there. We had to cut some wood up, bring it all the way over, and it was so hot. And we were sweating so bad, and the dust was going crazy. You see asphalt roads here, but not then. It was all dirt roads. We used to have to carry this wood all the way up here to build our church here, and it was awful. It was completely miserable. Then after working all those long hours, we would go back to sleep in a boat filled with 20 people. It was miserable. And I knew that God was not calling me to do that. And so I was so grateful to him.
He hated everything. He hated the heat, the bugs, the everything. It was just not fun for him at all. When he left, he kind of cleaned up the dust off his feet and said he would never go back.
One of the things is when you come to Brazil, they don't allow you to put toilet paper in their toilets because it clogs them up. So I went to the Miami airport, and I think I flushed down a whole roll of toilet paper just because I could. You know, I did really feel like God was saying something to me before the trip. And when I went back there, they knew I had sort of this finance background and understanding of accounting and stuff like that. And they said, they wrote to me and they said, you know, would you consider doing the accounting in the United States? And I thought, okay, well, maybe I did hear from God. It wasn't that, going down there and being in that place. So they said, why don't we bring you down here and you teach us this system? And so in February 2002, I came down here and was teaching Rick and a group there, you know, about fund accounting. In the midst of that, Rick's birthday was coming up. And so Deanna's like, hey, we need to get a lasagna for Rick's birthday. And I was like, okay, Elba will give you a ride. I knew about Elba. And even on the first trip that I came down, I think we just briefly passed. I just can't really remember.
First time I saw Steve across the street, his friend who was a missionary here, kind of, you know, talked to me. He touched me and said, hey, Albert, check that guy out. I looked over the street, and all I could see was Steve's white legs flashing at me. And I said, ooh, his legs are so white, you can even see his veins. And that was it.
I went down there to help her get the lasagna for Rick and drove down into town. And we just talked. And it was just like we knew each other for, you know, for all of our lives. It was just so easy. And I just thought, man, if I can only find this back in the United States, this would be awesome.
Steve was just staying here for a week, and so he asked me out if I wanted to go to dinner with him. So we went out for dinner.
She knew of this fish restaurant.
It was good dinner.
I hate fish. She now knows that, but she didn't then.
What happened is when I went home that evening, I felt the Lord saying to me, I love you, I care for you, and He is the answer of prayer. And I just had this big laugh saying, God, you must be kidding. This cannot be Him.
It was very obvious to me from the beginning she had a call. And I knew one thing for sure. If I was going to be interested in her, I was going to have to move.
We talked from that point on pretty much every single day through emails or calling. About 6 months later, Steve wanted to come and visit again. And so he came and he asked me to marry him. So I made him wait 5 days. And I wanted to talk with my parents. I wanted to talk with different people I knew. So 5 days later, I said yes.
That was literally in September of 2002. And so I came back. You know, I was working at an insurance company, IT manager.
So during this time, the Lord started speaking to Steve and to his leaders, and they also challenged him to move here.
They said, you know, just go down there for a year.
And we would date through that year and then see where we would get.
So that's what we did. December 15th, I was down here as a missionary. My statement before I came here was, I hate nature. I hated everything about nature. I hated camping, I hated mosquitoes, I hated all of that stuff. A couple months before we were married, I came here to live. And so one night, I was sleeping and I got up and I went to the restroom and I saw that there was some soap there and it was kind of nibbled on. I'm like, what is going on here? So I came back out and I saw that my drawer was open. So I thought, I better close this drawer. So I closed the drawer, then I went back to sleep and I just said this. And I said, oh my gosh, there's a rat in this dresser right over here. And it's the dresser that I closed. I locked it into the dresser. I ran and got the Brazilian couple and I said, there's a rat in here in my house, and we need to get this thing out. And so he's like, oh, okay, He just closes the door, everything's real normal, starts pulling the drawers out. I'm like, oh my God. So I grabbed 2 shoes and jumped up on the bed and just sat there like this, like I had no idea what to do. And so he's just pulling these drawers out. Boom, this thing just flies out. And I'm like, ah! And I start throwing shoes everywhere. And this guy's trying to run around and everything. And then finally someone, hits it. And it dies. And I just thought, if this is the life I have to live here, this is gonna be a problem.
Now he really had to search his heart and to work that process of being called here.
I needed to really know that I was being called by God to come down here. I didn't want to be coming down here just because Elba was here.
He made a commitment to serve, and we dated, and at the end of that first year, we got married.
And now what, 15 years, 16 years? We don't even ask that question anymore. We just kind of keep moving forward, and we've been planting churches and training leaders.
We love serving the Lord together, and we can't see ourselves doing anything different. Everybody says marriage is very difficult, especially marrying cross-cultural is even harder. And I don't believe that. I think marriage is marriage, no matter if it's cross-cultural or whatever. Most of our differences are not cross-cultural. Most of our differences is men and women. We're different. But I always joke with Steve, I said, I only have one rule. If you do this one thing, we're gonna be happy married for the rest of our lives. Never take your clothes off when the lights are on. Done.
Eu sinto que ela, para mim, é como presente de Deus, né?
For me,
Mas
she is
ela
like a present
foi
from God.
presente de Deus que
I have my wife, my
que o Senhor
princess,
trouxe
and my warriors
pra
who've
nós
traveled in
não
difficult
nos sentirmos
areas.
sozinhos.
But Elba is like a gift
Na
from
obra.
God. God gave her to us
ela pra mim
so
é
that we don't
muito
feel
especial.
alone in the work of the Lord.
Eu não consigo,
She is
eu não
really
consigo me ver
special,
no reino,
and I can't
pra mim ela é
imagine
culpada
working in the
disso.
kingdom without her.
Por isso que eu falo que ela está proibida de morrer. Né? Eu falo que está proibida de morrer pelo fato, não, eu estou sentindo ruim. Falou, é bom
And
que
I
se
always
trate,
say that she's not permitted
porque
to die.
a
When
terra
she
tá
says
muito
that
dura
she's
pra
not
enterrar
feeling
pessoas,
well, I kid around with her and
né?
say,
E
Elba,
você é muito,
the ground is not ready for you,
muito feia para ser
and you
anjo
are
ainda.
still too ugly to
Então,
be an angel.
just ranked the #1 city in the country, the most violent city in the country, most homicides. I thought about taking off, just taking off. And in that moment, I felt like the Lord said, don't do that, he's gonna shoot you. Because he was kind of laying over me. He turned off the car and he took off. So my legs are shaking, I'm shaking. I was just in this huge emotional thing. I mean, I couldn't breathe. It was just not good. I went into labor, like everything was just, and my doctor decided that it was better to get the baby out due to my emotional state. I was just in this huge shock. One is, for the first time, I felt like my safety was gone completely. But not just that, I feel like my babies now that I have to protect were also, how could we protect them? It was 6 weeks pretty much of crying every single night, just trying to get over that. Later, different people in our church had their house broken into. Our church got broken into and they took every single sound equipment we had. It was just like a series of things going on, and it was just like this huge wake up call for us. Like the battle was just so intense. We gotta watch when we come home. We gotta have big walls. We gotta have guard dogs. You kind of are always on watch. You just don't really trust. I mean, you drive around, you're looking back to see if someone is following. Usually missionaries have, they get burned out. They have, compassion fatigue. Now we're coming up with another term called crime fatigue, because that's an everyday thing right now in our lives.
The crime rate continues to keep going higher. Murder rates are kind of higher. We are indirectly being affected like that. Even though we don't even really realize it, we stay more in the house, and this is happening throughout all of Brazil. It's almost one of these things where you have to fight the fear.
You don't want to be bound to fear, but you live with that in your mind, that it's real, it's there.
Why not move? You've got an opportunity to move. Why do you want to live in a place where you have crime fatigue?
I mean, well, many people do ask, because for many Brazilians, marry an American is just like a ticket to this American dream life. And so people do ask me from time to time, I mean, why do you live here? My answer to them is, we're called. We have a call.
But where would Jesus send you? He's not going to send you probably to the peaceful place to continue to keep being peaceful. He's sending you to a place that, this is where people need the Christ, and people's lives need to be changed. And people need an inspiring message. They need hope. And so that's what Christ brings, and hopefully we'll be the carrier of that message.
We go to the States, and I get to see what life is there, but it's not where our heart is. I mean, I really believe if God called you, he will protect you. He has your back. And we gotta believe that. If you don't believe that, then you're not safe anywhere. Title means more work for us. So it doesn't mean because you have this big title, whatever, that you're gonna do less. In our case, it really means more responsibility, more work.
Presently, I'm serving as the Xingu Mission Field Chairman of Operations here. Altamira is a sending center. We want to be a a place that allows new missionaries to come in as a soft landing because of the things that are already established, and then from that point send off to another place.
I've never had anything in my life other than salvation, that it was completely free. Everything I had to work for. So I believe in hard work. I believe that God gives you opportunities, and my life is a life of opportunity. That God led me to different paths, and He opened doors in front of me. So other than being a mother and a wife, I pastor a church that we planted about 13, 14 years ago with Rick and Deanna. They left to plant another church, and I remained as the senior pastor. So still do that. And then I am also a part of the leadership for Vineyard Brazil, the National Association of Churches. And also as a regional coordinator with Clenildo, my friend. We share that responsibility in the region.
As I see Elba's influence in Brazil and also even in the world, as she is speaking at women's conferences in the U.S. and as she is on the Vineyard Institute leadership team globally, I'm just amazed.
In my wildest of dreams, I never ever thought I was going to do what I am doing today. I came here, I moved into this town as a helper for the missionary family, and now the Lord has taken me all the way to be a part of this national leadership where everything, even the mission, comes under.
The National Vineyard Movement here in Brazil is led by Milton and my wife, Elba.
So now Elba's our leader, yeah, and has been for a number of years now.
It's crazy. I mean, when you stop to think about it, where does that happen? I mean, really nowhere else, really, in the kingdom of God. And it all glorious to Him. And I don't even know what's next, but I'm excited for it.